What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast Sitting Tall with me, Casey Ellen, and my buddy
Tony Chamberlain.
And today we have a very, very amazing guest, a good friend of mine. Known him since he was a young whippersnapper back in the days of Valley Stream High School playing ball. And this is my man, JC Mendoza. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, everybody, man? Thank you for having me.
And he is bringing his beautiful hair along with him to this beautiful podcast right here.
So I didn't know we had a +1 coming, but
yeah, I know, right?
Man.
You know, we gotta.
This how I roll everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I go to the club, I gotta pay an extra 20 just for the hair. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I had that problem. You know what I mean? Because no problem.
I got you. That's you'll get the first 5 inches when I donate. You know
all right, sweet. As long as I get some hair out of it, you know what I mean?
I got you.
We all could use a few extra inches. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Hello.
Hello.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna start off a little bit about a little bit of background. I mentioned a little bit before to Tony, just for let the people know. Me and JC met probably 2007, 2007.
Yeah, something like that.
And I was dating his sister at the time, and we're still really good friends to this day. And I'm happy to have him on the podcast and kind of give him a little bit of a. Send him to the masses that maybe might not see him in his journey, and we're hooking him up. So,
yeah, man, appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about young Julio back in the day.
Back in the day, man, I met Casey. Like he said, he used to date my older sister, and Casey was kind of like the big brother that I never had. Like Case, he taught me how to dress. He put me onto H&M, which was a big deal back in the day.
Big deal back in
the H&M. The H&M zip-up hoodies that changed the game for me a little bit. Casey also literally gave me my first beer ever. That's a real thing that happened, and it really set the tone for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Casey's also part of the reason I decided to go to St. John's, because him and my sister went there, and I had met a bunch of like her friends and his people. So it was already a place that I was comfortable. And then going to St. John's, is probably one of the biggest decisions of my life, because I ended up making all of like my closest friends, people that I consider like, my brothers now, like people whose weddings I'm in and people that I talk to every day. I met them through Casey because he was the boss of campus recreation, and he hired me. I was the only freshman at the time, and all those guys is like my brothers now. So Casey like really was a very big influence in my life. He put me on to how to dress, how to drink, and a lot of different comedy movies that I didn't know about at the time. Like, Will Ferrell, like anything Judd Apatow, Casey kind of put that on my plate. Because him and my sister used to talk in like movie references. So
what we still do today.
Yeah, exactly. And I do too. And it's like a love language for me now. And I used to try to keep up because I wanted to be a part of the conversation.
Nice.
So, Case is a big, big part of me becoming the way that I am. All the good things.
I wouldn't say don't talk too much about Casey, because he's got to fit through the door later. His head's still gonna stay somewhat normal. You know what I mean?
Hey man, to be fair, you know what I'm saying? If his head was gonna be too big, his cock was going to be too big already, if you know what I'm saying, man. He's already going to have a tough time getting through that door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why I love JC. That's my boy.
It's awesome. I can see that you guys have a good relationship. That's cool, man.
That's my dog, man.
We stay in contact all year round, especially when fantasy football season comes around.
Especially, yeah.
That was a big time.
That's when the real uptick in the communication. Yeah, Case, hope everything is good. But what's up with Joe Burrow though? What's up? Let me get that. That's how it be.
Yeah, pretty much. And we've been in the league together for probably since back in college, and
like 2011, man.
Yeah, JC, I, and maybe like one other guy, like the only people who win the league.
Yeah, it's a very small brain trust of winners. Me, you, and Mets.
And I think Buns got maybe one or two.
Buns got one and Kyle got one, but it's we're the only ones with multiple
rings on the shelf.
Oh.
So JC, after after college and everything, I remember you were bouncing around a little bit, trying to figure out where you wanted to go, and so just tell me a little bit about what that process, because I know that. It's a scary fucking thing to leave college and to not, know what's up. Like it's.
Yeah, man. Shit. Like Tony, I don't know what your journey through life was like, but like after I graduated, I had no direction. Because for me, my whole life, like I always wanted to be a baseball player, right? That was my whole thing. I built my whole personality around being an athlete. And then when I got to St. John's, like, you know, the level of competition is way higher than what I was used to. So I was kind of close, but not really. So I played for like a semester, and then they got me out of there, and I was like, oh, I have to figure out who I am as a person. And that journey was a lot longer than the 4 years that college gives you. So like after college, man, I was doing temp jobs. I was working retail. I was really, 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 you know, really looking for purpose and not finding it. You know what I'm
All
saying?
over the
And it
place, right?
wasn't, yeah, man, you know, it was a scary, scary void. Like I feel like between 22 and like 27, I kind of just wasn't doing anything, wasting time. And then I always knew that I wanted to get into stand-up comedy, but I was too scared to do it. You know, it's a before you started, it's a scary thing to get on a stage and, you know, be vulnerable.
Yep.
But I took that dive around. I took that dive at age 27, and then once I turned 28, once the pandemic hit, it was kind of like balls to the wall, and then ever since then, it's been almost every day with it.
Nice,
So
man.
what year did you say? Sorry, kind of broke up a little bit. I don't know if
So
I got that.
I did my first open mic in 2015, but between like 2015 and 2020, I was doing like 2 or 3 mics a year, like because open mics, the thing they don't tell you, open mics are miserable places in New York City. Like the only other people that go are other comedians who aren't on shows, and they don't laugh at anything because those are the most miserable people on the planet who make joy their job, but they can't see the joy because they're not able to do their job. It's a really sad place. So you go there and you have a lot of hope as somebody starting out, but you know, you try things that you work really hard on and they get no response, no laughter. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm too terrible to do this. And I was in that negative cycle for like 4 or 5 years until, you know, I was able to, like, I through chance met one of my good friends in comedy, Max Manikoff, and we started a show together. And since then, like, I've been able to get on real shows. And you learn there's a difference between performing for comedians who don't want to laugh and for audience members who do. But, you know, you got to find those audiences.
Right.
And so I would say 2015, I did my first mic. 2020, I did my first show. And then since then, it's been, you know, all in.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, we're all about people, you know, following their passion and their dreams, and like, you know, that's the kind of people we want on the show.
It's a scary, scary, scary thing to start, man. Scary thing to start. I'm sure y'all know.
I mean, I could say that anything that you really put your mind into, especially if it's like your first time around doing something, it's a scary thing, no matter what it is. You know, even if it's like playing sports or like you said, doing comedy or anything vice versa. But like, you know, just to take that first step is the scariest part. And then I feel like from there, it's all downhill. You know what I mean? And I commend you for doing that because a lot of people don't have the guts to do something like that. You know what I mean? And it just takes the start to do something like that. Like, look at us. Like I say it a billion times. We were talking about this podcast and we're like, I don't know, should we do it? Should we not? And then we're like, you know what? Got nothing to lose. Let's do this. Let's
Shout
meet.
out to y'all for real, man.
Yeah, man. Let's meet some interesting people. Let's get some good stories. And you know, we get stuff out of it too because we get to meet interesting people like you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. But yeah, that first step, that was, I can't tell you how, because I realize as I get older that things are way worse in your head than they actually are in real life.
100%.
So in my head, because I wasn't actually doing it, in my head, the potential of failure was so much scarier than actually getting on stage and doing bad. You know, because once you do bad, it sucks, but then it's over. And the thing that for comedy, at least, that really helped me is that I realized that when it goes horrible, nobody really gives a shit because everybody's focused on what they're doing. The same way that if I get on stage and I crush and I do the best I've ever done, nobody really gives a shit. It's just important to me. The crowd has a good time, but then they go home and like they might look me up, they might not, but like I'm the only person who's living and dying with that information of how it went. And once I realized that it doesn't matter when it goes bad, the same way it doesn't matter when it goes good, it makes it a lot easier to give yourself the grace to try and fail and succeed, you know. So actually doing.
Can you give me a little background on like the moments, like just like you said, there's times that you've done bad where like, you know, you probably feel like shit and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this, I should move on. But then there's the absolute highs where you're like, I'm crushing it and everybody's loving my skit. And then like you have those moments where like everything's great and then you step off the stage and then you're like, okay, that was it, you know, on to the next thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, it's great right now, but tomorrow is going to be something totally different. So can you kind of like balance it out a little bit? Like, you know, tell everybody like how it felt.
Sure. I'll tell y'all how like the story of how I kind of like got into stand up because in that it kind of you see the high highs and the low lows. So back in the day around 2014, 2015, I used to just make like Snapchat stories. That was my thing that I did when I was bored. I used to live with my grandma. I used to take her around to go like do compras, do shopping. And while she would go inside, I would just chill in my car and do silly Snapchat videos. And one of my close friends was dating a girl who was the assistant to Cypher Sounds, legendary New York DJ, right? Cypher Sounds at the time was getting into comedy, and he was a producer of a show on MTV2 called Joking Off. The show was trash. It was an awful show, but it was on TV, and it was like right around. Do y'all remember like Guy Code and Girl Code? Do y'all remember that era?
Yes.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like when Schultz was coming up, Charlemagne the God, like they were all on this MTV2 circuit, and this was one of the shows that they were a part of. So my friend was like, yo, this girl I'm talking to is looking for comedians, and I sent her your info. She's going to hit you up. I'm like, I'm not really a comedian, but sure, I'll take an opportunity. She was like, send me any videos of you performing. So I just sent her Snapchat stories that I'd saved. She sent them to Cypher Sound. Cypher was like, yo, these are funny. Bring them in for the audition. They sent me a packet of jokes to start getting ready for. Basically, they showed pictures, and you had to write captions for the pictures. That's the whole premise of the show. So I took like 2 nights. I wrote a bunch of captions for pictures, went in, did the audition, and I crushed it. Like I had an amazing audition. I prepared really hard. And Cypher was like, yo, you made me look mad smart. Come back for the next round. So I came back for the next round, did well again. I did like 3 auditions really well to the point where I got all the way to the final audition at the MTV2 studio. Deezus and Mero was in the audition with me. Like this is right before the day popped off. So like I knew who they were because the pod was popping, but like, they weren't who they are now. So I get to this audition, still haven't touched the stage yet. And the people in the audition I'm talking to like, yeah, I've been doing it for 5 years. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for XYZ. And I had never done it before. So I get to this audition, man, full of confidence, and I fucking terribly. It's like very apparent that I have no confidence, no idea what I'm doing. And like coming up, like I had the ignorance of thinking that it was easy because I didn't have any experience. So I just knew that it went well when I did it. And then I got to this audition and like had to improvise on my feet, and I had nothing. Nothing. It was terrible.
Wow.
And I didn't get it. But I ended up like he ended up being cool with me. He was like, oh, come to my studio. We'll write jokes together. And I met a couple other comics. He was like, y'all got to start doing stand up now. And then that was like the first time I thought about it, but I didn't really go all in until a couple years later. So that was like my first moment of success and failure. And then at my first ever open mic, I remember I did like 5 minutes of awful material, no jokes that I tell to this day. Like it was terrible, dick jokes, awful shit, but just shit that, young man shit that I was thinking about at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a couple laughs, so I was confident. And then another comedian goes on stage and he's practicing crowd work, which is where he goes up with no material, but he's asking the crowd questions to see if he can find material. So he asked questions and nobody's responding because it's a fucking open mic and nobody wants to talk. So I'm feeling good. I responded because he asked, oh, does anybody have any addictions? And I was like, yeah, man, I got you. I'm trying to help him out so he can go to the next part of his joke. He's like, oh, really? What did you struggle with? And I was like, oh, I didn't really have anything. I'm just trying to help you out. He's like, oh, you're a new comedian, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, do me a favor. Shut the fuck up when I'm on stage. And everybody started laughing. And I felt like the biggest asshole on the planet. So like after that, I was like, yo, I'm never going back to this place ever again. I didn't do comedy for like 6 months. And it was just a lot of moments like that back and forth where I fucking had a good experience and then a bad experience right after. And it wasn't until a couple of years later where I started to realize, oh, if it goes well, that's nice. But if it goes poorly, it doesn't really fucking matter,
Yeah, that's something that I I'm still struggling realizing with, like how you said that, like when something happens, like people don't even give a shit. They're all stuck in their own world. Like when I first got hurt, like I had a hard time going out in public to like a restaurant or like because I always thought that all eyes would be on me and like people are. But then like now that I'm starting, it's almost about to be a decade. Like
Crazy.
It's like I know wild bananas. And it's just like I'm like oh, these people don't like, they might look at me but they're not giving a shit what I'm doing. Like they're stuck in they're worried about what they're gonna do after dinner or whatever. Like no one's gonna remember me after this meal. So that took me a little bit of getting used to. But that's like you said, like once you get it over with, like it's like you don't even know that it happened.
Yeah, it's almost scary in theory how much like nobody's paying attention, but there's liberation in that. It's like, oh, I am fully free to be the biggest dickhead that I want to be. Like it doesn't matter what I do as long as I'm doing something that I'm proud of or that I like or that I know is feeding into what I want for the future. That's all that matters.
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm talking about. I would actually like to touch upon both of what you were saying because I have a saying in my head that I constantly use every day, and it's very true because every day it's either good, bad, medium, whatever you want to call it, but we can always say this at the end of every day. We can always say, hey, I was feeling great today. I had a great day. I made money or I met some friends. I went out, had a good time. But at the end of the day, this too shall pass.
Yeah,
And
100%.
when the next day comes, you can have the worst day. Like you can, like me and Casey, we ended up going to the ER almost like a week apart. And like
Like
that was,
twinsies.
yeah. And that's like one of those days where we're like, wow, man, our lives suck. And this is terrible and everything like that. But then I said to myself, this too shall pass. So
Yeah.
those things are always in my head. And I like to pass that along to other people that are listening, because just because you have a good day, it's not going to last. Just because you have a bad day, it's not going to last. But always stay present. And I feel like that's one
Hmm.
thing that you do in comedy. So that's cool, man.
Yeah, that's well said, because like being present, that's like the number one rule they teach you. Like on stage, you have to be present. Like if something's happening in the room and you're on stage, you have to be the first person to call it out, because everybody's looking to you for like to be the leader in the room, in terms of like if there's somebody in the crowd who's quicker than I am, I'm doing something wrong on
Mhm.
Yeah.
stage. You know what I'm saying? And to also go back to what I said, what like nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter, but in that you are free. I also have learned, I don't know, you guys can let me know if this is y'all experience too. It's never the things that you think it's going to be that take you to where you want to go.
Mhm.
Like it's never the big things that you build up, like, yo, this episode we're going to have this guest and everybody's going to watch, and that's going to, put us in a different realm. Like I've had shows where I've been on stage with Bill Burr, like I got to bring, and I'm like, yo, if I do
Wow.
well on this show, which is cool, but it's like, yo, if I do well on this show, he's going to take me on the road and my life is going to change. And I went and I did great, and nobody fucking cares. Bill wouldn't, he didn't even fucking watch it. Bill couldn't pick me out of a fucking lineup. But like in my head, it was the big thing. But what it's gonna end up being is somebody seeing me on a fucking rooftop in Brooklyn performing for 12 people when I don't give a shit about what I'm saying. Where somebody's like, "Yo, he's actually pretty good. Let me put him in contact with a
Yeah.
manager or something." Like it's never what you think it's gonna be.
Yeah. It's unpredictable, that's for sure. Yeah, I
Unpredictable.
can see that a lot with comics, because I do like I love watching comedies, and it's funny that when you actually see them talk to each other, how they talk about like what they do for their sets, and like how people react, and like how they react to each other. It's very
Yeah.
interesting, because they say, I don't know how true it is, but they say that a lot of the times comedians actually are the people that like they tend it seems like it was opposite for you, but it seems like they seem to cheer each other on, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you did that
Mhm.
great, I love that, but the other part sucked. They're very
Yeah.
like, hey, right, I'm gonna tell you how it is,
I
I'm not gonna lie to
I
you, you know what I mean? So like,
I think that was probably different because those aren't the up and coming comedians who I think Jay was experiencing the bitter people who haven't made
true,
Yeah.
it,
true,
or
true, true, true.
I feel like the people who made it, it's like that you're in that like circle now, like
Mhm.
you're in that elite club. You got the yellow jacket, so
Yeah.
now
You're in
So
the
I
masters
mean,
right now.
yeah, right. They call me Young Tiger, but not. It's
yeah
like there's definitely that does definitely exist in comedy. And one thing I will say about getting deeper into comedy, there is so much more community than I realized.
Mhm,
Like getting into comedy, a lot of people who start comedy young. I started when I was in my late 20s, which is not an old person, but in comedic years, like a lot of people start a lot younger. Because by 27, 28, you want to be getting that deal that takes you to the next place, ideally in comedy.
mhm,
But getting farther into comedy, there's so much community and what's the word that I'm looking? A lot of people getting into comedy at younger ages, they don't have friendships outside of comedy that they can rely on. So like they're getting everything in their life, like relationships, meaning from comedy. Whereas I came in, I had like my lifelong friends already. I had very meaningful relationships. So I wasn't getting any of that out of comedy. So I didn't care about people that I met. But doing it over and over, like the people that I'm growing with, that I look around and consider my peers, like these are people that we have those conversations with, like, yo, this was great, but this is a note. Try this tag instead of that. If you take this and you put it in the back and you put this up front and you flip this word, you might have a little bit more success. So that happens all the time, just within people of, we call it classes.
mhm.
Like, people in my class, we give each other notes all the time, and I'm happy to see anybody I consider a peer win. But then there's, comics who are definitely above us, been doing it way longer, that, don't look at us twice.
Yeah.
So it kind of, we have to be that rock for ourselves.
Yeah, you got to kind of think too that they probably went through the same kind of pattern that you're going through, and they're just
Yeah.
like they're on their pedestal now. So like they see you, but
Yeah.
they don't see you. Like they would never say to you, "Yo, man, that was a pretty good skit." I feel like they would just be like, they'd give you like the nod. That was it. They won't like,
Yeah.
they'd be like, okay, and then move on. Like, that simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's definitely a bit of like elder statesmanship in comedy for sure. that I can compare it to, even though I didn't join one in college, it's a lot like a fraternity or like a Greek organization where you have your upperclassmen that haze the newer people. Like for a while in the club that I work at, there's a couple comics that wouldn't say hi to me. Not because of anything that I did, because I'm the fucking nicest guy on the planet. I'm very easy to work with. But like, they're like, oh, I've seen a million comics come and go, and I'm not gonna waste my time getting to know another one that's not gonna be here in 6 months. Which I think, in my opinion, is fucking stupid. But that's how that's how older comics think. Like they're born from a lot of comics that are above me now are like the children of Patrice O'Neal. And the way that Patrice O'Neal kind of like carried himself was very much like, yo, you fucking suck. And I'm not going to speak to you until you do better because you make me look bad if I shake your hand. And there's a lot of comics with that type of energy. And you can see where it comes from and what they're trying to cultivate. But, there's also plenty of comics that I will say that have been nothing but nice, super kind when they didn't have to be. And they balance each other out.
Mm-hmm. Hey, speaking of fraternities, hey, we were in C-Rec. That was one of the biggest fraternities on campus, bro.
Facts. The best. We was the only fraternity with a car. You know what I'm saying?
We had a car around campus.
We had a car around campus. We got paid. We didn't have to pay dues. We was cooking with gas, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were making a lot of people jealous.
Yeah, man. We would just roll around campus, and we had like this little cart that we used to put the supplies in that we would drive from one part of campus to the other and like set up volleyball tents and stuff like that for people. And it would be like we would like beep the horn. People have to get out of our way. We play music off the back. It would be that was our flex. That was our cool. We didn't get no letters and do no dances, but we had that cart. That was our thing.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was in undergrad, we used to use that cart. They used to drive me to class in that cart when they
I know
open rec. I'd hop in the back. They just drive me right to one of the halls, and I was good to go.
I know we used to drive through when I was an underclass. We used to drive through slow through like the dorms and like, oh, are you going this way? Can you give me a ride? Be like, nah, I can't, shorty. I'm sorry. I gotta go. No, I'm at work right now. I gotta go get this bread.
My boss won't let me do this. My
boss. You know I got you. Hit me up after though. I'll see what I can do. Like like little shit like that.
That was funny.
Yeah, but when you were saying before about how you got to be the fastest, like the quickest guy in the room with the jokes, I always felt like that's to me, from knowing you, I don't think that's an issue at all. You were always very quick with the jokes. Like whenever we, just people bullshitting around, like just talking shit, you would always have the claps. You always coming in with smacks first. Always.
Yeah. I appreciate it. It's just, it helps, man. It helps because I think everybody with time to prepare is a funny person. I think everybody has a humorous bone. Not everybody, but plenty of people have like funny qualities and can put together funny thoughts and communicate them in a funny way. That's why group chats are so fun because, you have, decades of context baked in and friendships where if I make a callback to a joke from 7 years ago, everybody's going to laugh because they all get where I'm coming from. And what comedy is basically you're creating that context in real time for people you've never met before. So you're like creating community and opportunities to make inside jokes, but you're just bringing the whole world in. So that's all it is. And being quick-witted, quick on your feet is like one of the easiest ways to do that. Because if it's happening in the room and this guy's laugh is funny and I have a comparison for what his laugh sounds like, everybody in this room understands what I'm talking about. That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of art, man. I did not know it was so scientific. There's such a science to it.
I was just gonna say that the way like you're talking about it, like I would never have known that. Like it seems like there's so much more. Like I know you have to, you put in work, you write the sets and all that. I didn't know there was all this other outside stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorite things that I've learned about comedy as I've gotten farther into it. Because I've been a writer in my life, but never like a comedy writer before I started stand up. And then being funny is one thing, but you have to apply. There's a craft of stand up that you also have to apply because a lot of people are funny, but not everybody's a good stand up because they don't practice the craft. And like there's things like the rule of three, like where whenever you're listing something, you have to list three of them because it sets the people's mind up for a serious thing, an outrageous thing, and a funny thing. And it's like you start to do it without realizing. And then you learn about things like a premise and a transition. all of these things that all funny people do in conversation, where you're honing in on to do on stage to bring people along for a journey. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You find different people have different voices in different ways. It's a lot of, it's like the same way watching basketball where you break down people's game. Like, oh, he's the best in the post. Like, he can't shoot from three, but his mid range is better than anybody. Like, this guy can't do crowd work, but he's got a better setup punchline than anybody in New York. And it's so fun to see that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, it seems like it's really things that you notice as a comedian with other comedians, because when like people like me or Casey that are just not comedians and we go to a show, we can just be like, yo, that guy killed it. And we didn't even know how he prepped for it. We just like he seemed so natural. Like I feel like that's a lot of things that you need to have with comedians. Is like you have to have a natural stage presence also, because if you're up there like cold and like not knowing what to do or not knowing how to snap
For
back,
sure.
it's gonna be bad, man. You know what I mean? So
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, definitely in the beginning, but you'd be surprised the amount of like dry, no personality comics that are hysterical, because
that's true too. Yeah.
there's a personality in not having a personality if you own it, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
there's people who just get up there and say their jokes. It doesn't matter where they're at, who they're talking to. Their voice never gets high. They're giving you the same thing the whole time, but they're so good at it and so like triple down into their personality and into what they think is funny that the audience has to catch up.
Yeah,
And it's really it's awesome to see. Like, for audience members, they can just look at the show and be like, this person was funny and this person wasn't funny. But for comedians in the back just watching like this, like fucking scouts with the clipboard, it's like, oh, this person's getting a lot of laugh, but they're trash. This crowd doesn't know why they're laughing, or they're laughing because of a
Why
corny
are they laughing
thing.
right now? Like I don't
Yeah,
understand this.
yo, it's crazy how jaded comedians get, because like I'll be on a show that I'm excited about, and if I see a comic who, not that I don't respect, but I don't think is that funny, crushing, I'm like, man, I don't even want to do well for these people because I don't respect their opinions. Or I'll have a great set and be like, yo, I'm the fucking man. And then the person next to me is somebody I don't think is good. And they'll go on and they'll crush on me like, man, that just makes it didn't even count. Doesn't even fucking matter. It's crazy. I know.
That is too funny
Yeah.
too. It's funny.
It's a wicked game.
The thing that I thought of since you was talking about that was I was watching America's Got Talent one year, and there was a guy that went on stage and he was gonna sing a karaoke song, right? And I'm just like, okay, he's a singer or whatever. And he gets up there, he's like, okay, I'm gonna put on the song and then we're gonna sing along. He puts on the song Tequila. And if you know, in the song, there's only two words. It's tequila, tequila, or tequila, whatever it is. So the whole time it's like, dun, 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 dun. So he's just sitting there with the microphone, and he's like, and then when it comes around, he goes tequila. It made everybody crack up. Dude, and all he was doing was standing the whole time just listening to the music. He wasn't even dancing or nothing. He was just waiting for the word tequila, and that set everybody off, dude. And it's so funny. It's something so simple, but it made people laugh. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think that's gonna make your career or anything like that. But it was a funny.
You'd be shocked, man. There's so many different like little acts that you'll see in comedy. Man, there's this one dude. I wish I knew his name, but he comes to the comedy club that I work at, the Stand in New York City. It's a great club, right? And he comes and he does 2 minutes on every show for one night, just 2 minutes. His thing, they play classical music. He dresses up in a tuxedo. They play classical music, and he doesn't say a word, does not say a word. It's just he's acting like he's conducting an orchestra. And as he's doing it, and this is ridiculous, and I'm sorry to whoever's watching what I'm about to do, but as he's conducting, it just turns into him jerking dicks off around his face. And that's the whole act. And it is fucking hysterical. And for the finale of and I'm ruining his whole act, by the way. The finale of the act is like, he's like bringing, going crazy, and then he spits milk out of his mouth.
Oh my
at the end, that was in his mouth the whole time, and you had no idea.
Wow.
And the crowd loses it. The show ends, and and he does that every time he's in the club. Wow. And that's all he does. And it's hysterical.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, like I said, it's just it's how you look at it, you know what I mean, or how like you go about things. Like you can
and that's the fun. That's one of the funny parts about comedy, because sometimes we get so serious, like, yo, I'm coming with these new jokes. They're not gonna be ready for this story, and I'm slaving all night over it. And a guy comes jerking off the air, spitting out milk and crushing. And I'm like, what am I doing?
What am I doing wrong right now? I need to be having milk in my mouth while I'm doing myself.
Is there not enough cum in my act? And that's the whole thing.
God damn it! I didn't jerk enough dicks off today. God damn it!
What is wrong with me?
God damn it! I knew. And then your comic friends come from the back. It's like, yo, you gotta jerk more dicks, brother.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
if you jerk dicks in the beginning, you
That's it.
have something, but you have no dicks being jerked.
No.
It's not gonna
Yes.
work.
For this crowd, you got no dicks, no
You
laughs.
got to jerk.
Yep. You
Gotta
It's
gotta
jerk
it.
some dicks, man.
get on your
Listen,
set, bro. You gotta
Get
figure it
off
out.
your high horse
yeah.
and get on some air
Are you?
dicks. That's what
Yeah.
you got to do.
Are you too good to play the air dick, bro? Like, what's going on?
Oh
What's
man.
going? What happened,
Hey,
Jay?
hey, hey! Better comics than you have played plenty of air dick. All right, buddy. Get off the
Keep
pedestal.
moving, all right?
Kev,
Keep moving.
Kevin Hart's been playing a little air dick his whole career, and look at him. You
That's
know,
and that's really how it is.
that's
Uh,
so funny.
that is.
That is
Have
That's
you
how
ever
it
been
is.
like heckled on stage?
Oh, all the time. I got heckled last night, man. It was actually pretty funny. So I'm telling I'm on this show and I'm opening up with this joke about me being a teacher, and then some lady in the back is like clapping well after everybody else stopped clapping. I'm like, oh, are you a teacher too? She's like, yeah, man, I get it. I was like, oh, what subject do you teach? She was like, yoga. And then I was like, and the
Oh,
crowd was laughing. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Nobody, I was like, that's not what the fuck I'm talking about. And like, I made some jokes, but then she was just drunk as hell. She was just screaming stuff. And
Oh
like,
God, you
she
don't love
ended
the
up
drunk
getting
people.
kicked out. Bro, that happens all the time. I had one show where I'm just doing a very regular set. It's going well. And I'm asking people if they've seen the show that I'm writing a joke about. And I'm like, oh, have y'all seen The Last of Us on HBO? And then this one guy is just like, yeah, I was watching it with your mom. And I was like,
mm,
come on, man. I was like, I laughed, but I was like, I wasn't even prepared for that. I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ. Like, it
Well,
almost derailed everything.
that's where the quick-wittedness gonna like come in. Like you got to say
Yeah,
something
that's where
like,
it
"Oh,
has to
really? How
come.
did it go?" Like that's what I would have said. I would
like
have been like,
Yeah, that's where it has to come.
man,
yeah,
fuck that. Don't you talk about Sue like that.
yeah, yes, that's
Yo,
perfect. You know what I mean?
and it was crazy because most of the times I'll be fun and I have a comeback, but sometimes like you're going up there to work on a certain set of jokes. Like you're on a show that's not like it's not your end all be all. You can work on new stuff and take it to a room that's important, like a club where you want to get
Yeah.
booked at. But this is just a show I wanted to work on something. So I'm working on this joke, and then he just sucked the air out of it, and I was so annoyed that I couldn't even be funny about it.
Oh
And
man,
that happened. Those are the things that end up making comics bitter and like not fun to be around. And I was like, "Fuck, man, come
yeah,
on!"
yeah, and
It felt like I
Seriously,
was
bro.
teaching. It was awful.
It's
and
like, what
it's
is this? Like 1995? Get your
I
jokes.
know. I was
Yeah,
like, "What is Jesus Christ,
watched it
brother?"
with your mom. All right, man. This
you're
is
so
Yeah,
funny. Why don't you come
that's
up here and start talking?
that's literally what
just
my
walk off the set. Just walk off
and
the
you
set.
can't even
I'm done.
say that because motherfuckers will jump on the stage, and
That's
that you
true.
can't have that no more.
That's
Not
true.
in
Yeah.
2023. Not in a post Will Smith era. You can't even have that.
Oh wow, yeah,
Uh,
that's true. You don't want the slap, man. You
that
don't want that
I
coming.
don't.
listen.
No
You don't want
smoke.
the oh
Slapper. I just watched a comedian earlier today. Matt Rife.
Yeah, Mara, huge.
Yeah,
He's huge on the scene.
hilarious. Something came up and I think he was like bringing somebody up. He's like, oh, you can come up. He's like, but don't fucking touch me because he's like, I'll 300 kick you right in the chest. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
I don't doubt it. You have to be careful nowadays.
Yeah. My wife is he's really good. I had a show in Brooklyn once, and I was asking people. I was talking to people in the crowd. I was like, "Oh, why'd you like?" They said they were from out of town. Like, "Oh, why'd you come to New York?" They're like, "Oh, we wanted to see a comedy show. We hope that Matt Rife was going to be here." I'm like, "You're at the wrong fucking show, lady. He's not in this hole in the wall in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? They gotta buy tickets for that."
You had the wrong. How much did you pay to get in here? Yeah, wrong show.
Yeah,
venue.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you paid $6 and you didn't see your favorite comedian on the planet. You fucking nut job. People are crazy.
People are crazy, man.
People are crazy, bro.
For sure, man.
So what's next? So what you got? What anything working in the little grinder here? What we got?
Yeah,
going
man,
on?
I got plenty of stuff going on. Like I said, me and my girlfriend, Samantha Santos, who's also a very funny stand-up comedian. We just started our podcast earlier this month. It's called Soft Launch. We drop episodes every Wednesday. Pretty much just talking shit, talking life, and she's got me into reality TV. So we've been heavy watching Bravo. Do y'all watch Bravo?
Can't say that I do.
I mean,
Hey, I feel you.
haven't.
This shit slaps. This shit is incredible. It is good
Stop it.
television.
So
I
I'm
swear
gonna
on
have to-
everything.
You
If
give me
you
a
got
couple shows.
time, if you
I
got
got plenty
time,
of time.
yeah.
All about binge watching shows. So you give me a show and we'll see what's up.
Right now, the big thing in the Bravo universe, there's a show called Vanderpump Rules, where it's like a bunch of people
Okay.
that worked at a restaurant in California that were dirt poor, but they've been following them for 10 years and watching them get rich, but they're like really messy, filthy, dirty white people. And they all fuck each other and they all cheat on each other. And like in this season, one of the guys cheated on his girlfriend of 10 years with another cast. It's like the biggest scandal in reality television, and it was insane. It was like high level television, and like
So do
we dedicate like 20 minutes of our podcast to talking about Bravo.
do I
That's funny.
do I have to start at season 1, or I can just watch the season
You
and I'll
could.
get it?
I started this season, but I also had my girlfriend to explain what was going on. But it's not complicated. It's like, all right, this person fucks this person who used to fuck this person. I'll send you some TikToks where they'll catch you up on 10 seasons in 3 minutes.
It's like Cliff Notes.
Yeah,
But-
I was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say,
like-
you need the clip notes.
Yeah, it's really like it's like a reality Marvel universe. Honestly, it's so
Oh.
much going on because all the shows interact with each other. This person from this city comes to this. It's so much. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful mess.
Bravo's has its own like multiverse, basically.
Bravo is like WWE for women.
Got
That
it.
shit
All
is
right.
lit.
Okay.
Good
okay.
explanation right there. I like that.
Yeah, so that's-
I might have to venture.
Highly recommended. So that's our podcast that we start. We drop every Wednesday. I'm running a bunch of shows. I run a show called Brownish that's at New York Comedy Club every last Sunday of the month. That I run that. That's all black, brown, and Latino comics in New York that we give a special showcase to because comics you can be any color, but there's less the deeper you get into minority groups, the less comics you find in terms of people that like make money and get booked. It's still a white dominated industry, so we like to shine a special spotlight there. I run a show at the Stand with my girlfriend that's the same name as our podcast called Soft Launch. We have our show on June 10th at the Stand. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also at the Stand every Friday and Saturday at midnight, no matter what week. That is my show.
Where's
I
the
host
Stand?
it. The Stand is in Union Square. It's on East 16th Street in New York City. It's every Friday, Saturday night at midnight. If you're looking for some place to be drunk as fuck and eat good food and drink a couple drinks and watch funny people, I'm hosting every Friday, every Saturday at the Stand. And then coming up, what else do I got? I got a show in New York City on the 3rd called Street Talk. That's where we buy an ice cream truck. We give away free ice cream. Big show in a lot in downtown New York City. And then I'm going to be at City Winery on the 21st of June. Let me actually double check that. City Winery is like a big venue, and that's like it's like 200 some people.
When you
I'm looking for the day.
You also
23rd,
do
yes.
comedy? Do you
Yeah,
also
so
do comedy, or
hosting-
you just host?
Yeah, so hosting, there are okay. So hosting, every time you add a comedy show and you see a host, they're also a comedian. Their job is a little different because they want to make sure the crowd is feeling good, making sure the crowd has high energy. So a lot of the job is making sure everybody is having a good time, but you're mixing jokes into that. It's just
So,
they have a different responsibility.
so kind of like an MC, but with jokes.
Yeah, it's
Like
an
a-
MC, but yeah, every comic you see, if you go to a stand-up comedy show, the host is also a stand-up comedian.
Oh, so you won't do a set. You'll be doing kind of like mini stuff in between each person type deal.
Yes. So I'll do like time up top where I'll talk to the crowd, I'll do crowd work, and then I will what's the word I'm looking for? I'll do crowd work and then I'll mix my jokes into that. It's not a full set like the rest of the comics are gonna do, but it's still like you're getting a good 10, 15 minutes of me doing comedy.
It's like a warm up
Kinda
for the comedian.
Yeah.
It's like a
when somebody
warm up,
hosts the
yeah, you're
Grammys or
sacrificing.
something.
Yeah, pretty like that, but
hosting
more
the Oscars. Yeah.
yeah, like I have an opening, what you might call an opening monologue. Yeah, sorry, the sun went down and it messed up my natural lighting, and now my shit doesn't work, but it's all right. But yeah, that's so
I
all
was
the
going to
shows
say
that I
something
host-
about that. I feel like you're in a bat cave right now. I'm not going to lie. It gets
Yeah,
very
I know.
dark in my screen.
You went to the
Oh.
darkness. You went to the
I
shadow
know.
realm.
I know. I was born in the darkness.
I was born
in
molded
the
by it.
darkness. Yes, I love it.
I didn't see the light until by the time I was a man, and it was nothing but blinding. But yeah, so any show that you see me on that I'm hosting, I'm also doing comedy on. So if you see me like booked to host something, I'm also doing comedy. So come to that show.
That's awesome. Yeah, so definitely, just whatever socials after the fact, just let me know whatever you want me to plug into our stuff, and we'll add it to the post and everything like that to get you some shine.
Got you,
Yeah.
man. Yes, Peach Fuzz Poppy everywhere.
Peach
Twitter,
Fuzz
Instagram.
Poppy,
Peach
baby.
Fuzz Poppy, man. That's who I am. That is my thing.
I remember when the Peach Fuzz was Peach Fuzz, my man.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. A lot of ass has been eaten since then to get the beard that I have now, and I'm very
Listen,
proud of myself.
People don't understand that that's the quickest way.
The
to
quickest
get
way
That
to grow,
is-
huh?
to
Okay.
get this.
That is the price you pay. Come on, Case. Come on. I see that goatee, Tony. Come on, dog. We was in the streets, man.
Oh, man.
Tony Tony, with that thing Tony's got going on, I think he's got us all beat, bro.
I mean,
Yeah,
it is pretty long. I'm trying to
And,
yeah.
get it down so I can braid it at one point, but that's probably gonna take a
That'd
little
be
bit still.
fire.
You know what I mean?
Get you
But
get you a Confucius, one long string.
yeah.
yes,
You
exactly.
can get two. You get two, one on each side. You look like one of them badass
Oh my
Viking
God,
dudes.
right? You could do.
Heck
That's
yeah,
a good
dude.
idea, Case. I might have to do
Just
that.
Hell
You
yeah.
get both sides.
I'm all about good ideas.
I like that
That's
because I was
that's what
actually
do.
thinking. I was like, if I braid this down, it's gonna look so like skinny, like, and it's gonna look horrible if it's like super skinny. It's like, what do you got on your chin there, brother? What's hanging
No,
there?
it's
You know
gonna
what
look.
I mean?
It's gonna look amazing.
It's
It's gonna
gonna
look
look good.
immaculate, my king.
Especially that mustache.
I
It's
know,
gonna look
right?
rustic. You're gonna look.
You ever, like that Guy Fawkes mask with that
Hell
mustache
yeah.
and then with that little chin thing he got, whatever that's
Yep.
called.
Yeah.
You're
I
gonna
don't know
look
what
like
it
you're
is.
ready for anarchy. V for Vendetta.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to get me like a leather vest that I can wear on here and be like, all right, man, I
Remember-
just
You're gonna have to-
came in from outside riding the bike. You know what I mean?
You're gonna have to overthrow a world government, brother.
Oh man,
Remember the
outlaws.
5th of November, bro. You never.
There he
the 5th
is.
Of November. That's it.
There he is.
Yeah, watch out for Parliament. That's crazy. out there. But Tone, you got anything else you want to ask about before we get up out of this?
Nah. I'm glad to have a guest like you because you can keep talking about your craft, and I love it. You know what I mean? I'm glad you came on and talked about a little bit, fill in our audience a little bit on like how a comedian, how they think, how they work, how everything. It's pretty cool, man.
Appreciate y'all having me, man. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to, you got to hear a little bit about behind the scenes of what goes in, and it's like and it's great because you're kind of in like that on the way up toward the site.
Yeah.
So it's nice
Big
to
time.
see like because you gotta be focused, you gotta be driven, like you gotta have that drive that you want to succeed in this, and that's that's what me and Tony kind of live our lives by. Like every day is every day you just got to go out and tackle it, and that's
for sure, man.
Keep grinding, baby.
They say no days
100%.
off, right?
No days off. You already know. Shirt's tucked.
But I just want to give out a shout out to our sponsors, Seven Bros Apparel and Laxed Hemp. If anybody needs any CBD products, look them up. And it's been another great episode of Sitting Tall with me, Casey Ellen, and my boy
Tony Chamberlain.
And thank you to our guest, JC Mendoza. We'll put all his socials, all his upcoming comedy events, and if you're in the city, you want to get some laughs, like you said, get some laughs, get some food, look him up.
Go check our man out,
100%.
man. I'm sure he's gonna give you some laughs, man. Because I was already laughing on this set that he did right here. It wasn't
Appreciate
even a set.
it, man.
That's it.
Thank y'all so much. And before I get out of here, man, Tony, I just met you. You're a fucking great guy. Thank you so much for having me. Casey, I love you, bro. You are my absolute brother from day one. I can't even put into words how much I love you, how happy it makes me to see you and talk to you and catch up with you over these years. You're a fucking legend. You was before. You'll always be one. And literally anytime y'all want me back, I'll drop everything for y'all. I love y'all.
Awesome,
Appreciate
you, man.
You're the man. Appreciate you, Jay.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Well, I guess we get